Hola, clase de español 3. I can't be there today because I have a meeting to go to. So I am going to go through some grammar notes with you from our paquete. And it's real important that you watch this video and that you pause it when necessary, go slowly and learn this grammar today, because this is going to be like the solid foundation grammar that's going to really help you with the rest of Spanish 3. So here's my iPad. I'm going to share with you, and I am going to go with you La Gramática de Unidad 2. Here we go. Here is my iPad. So far, we had talked about just regular present tense. This is like Spanish 1 stuff. That if it's just a regular AR verb, you know it's regular because it's one of these verbs on page 7. These are just the normal old AR verbs. And we talked about AR verbs. You just chop off the AR and you go, o, as, a, amos, ice, on. We did this last class. I feel like you're good with this. Then on page 8, we talked about how if it's an ER verb, it's o, es, a, hemos, es, en. And an IR verb is o, es, a, imos, with the I, is, and en. We use these endings when it's just a regular old verb in the present tense. And this is different than pretérito, which we were doing in our first unit. Pretérito is past tense. This is present tense. So now we should look at the verb ir. Ir is when you go places. Yo voy a Colorado. Yo voy a la escuela. The ir chart is voy, vas, va, vamos, vais, van. And like I said before, feel free to pause this video anytime you need to copy down these notes correctly. So now we're going to look at something new. We might have seen these last year in Spanish too, but I don't know if we did. The first is the verb saber. Saber we use when we know things. You might be familiar with the expression no sé, I don't know. The saber verb, it's irregular in the yo form, so it's yo sé with an accent. After that, it's just sabes, sabe, sabemos, saben. Regular old ER verb. Chop off the ER, throw the endings on. It's just the yo form that's a little different. Copy that down, please. Next up, we have the verb ver, to see. Veo, V-E-O, la forma de yo veo. I see the mountain, yo veo la montaña. I see my beautiful students, veo a mis estudiantes hermosos. The yo form, it's V-E-O, veo. And then we have ves, ve, vemos, ves, and ven. Or as I like to say, veo, 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 ves, ve, vemos, ves, ven. Finally, we have the verb dar. Dar is to give. The yo form of dar is doy. I give candy to the Kahoot winners. Yo doy los dulces a los ganadores de Kahoot. Doy. After that, regular old AR verb. And we've got doy, das, da, damos, dais, dan. So these are just 3 randos, irregular yo forms, and we move on. Next up, I know we talked about this last year, so let's review. There's groups of verbs that are called boot verbs. Some are verbs that have an E in them, where the E switches from E to IE, as you see right here in the verb querer. The E, when you put it in the whole chart, becomes IE. So querer just means to want, but quiero means I want. The E switches to an IE. Yo quiero, tú quieres, ellos quieren, but the nosotros form doesn't change. It's just queremos. Second group, O to UE verbs. Dormir is to sleep, but yo duermo, tú duermes, ella duerme, ellos duermen, nosotros doesn't change. We call these boot verbs because we draw this shape around the forms that do change, and it kind of looks like a boot. Third group is E to I verbs. Sirvo, sirves, sirve, sirven, but in the nosotros form, we do not make that change. So maybe you're thinking, Doña, how am I even going to know which verbs do this? You need to take some time this year in Spanish 3 to internalize this. So take a minute right now. Pause my video, look at the verbs that switch from E to IE, and reflect on them. Do I know these? Do I not know these? Learn them, memorize them, and put them in a category in your mind called these are the E to IE verbs. Now take a moment, reflect on what are the E to I verbs. One thing with E to I verbs you'll notice is that they're always IR. Always. They're always IR. And then naturally, there's a E in there that has to change. So take a moment and reflect on what are the E to I verbs. If you don't know them, learn them, memorize them, love them. They'll be on a quiz. Finally, the verbs that are O to UE and O to UE and U to UE. Take a minute, reflect on them. The only verb that is U to UE is jugar, which is to play, right down here. That's why you say yo juego football, yo juego baseball. Feel free to stop the video and reflect on these verbs. If you don't know it, why don't you highlight it? Why don't you memorize it? Take a moment, learn these verbs. Let's move on. What I'm going to say with this page 12, pause the video right now. Try page 12 all by yourself. See if you've got the hang of these verbs. And then once you think you have completed page 12, go ahead and watch the video, check your answers. So pause right now, complete page 12. Pause. Okay, hopefully you did page 12 and you're back. Here are the answers. Please make corrections. Yo pido. Tú encuentras. Marcos quiere. Nosotros repetimos. Kevin juega. Anita y Lola no duermen. Nosotros encendemos. Me duermo. Suena, encuestan. So take a moment, check your work, make any corrections you need to. Feel free to pause this video as much as you need to. And we're going to move on. Because wait, there's more. This is kind of new. If we touched on this last year, it was so briefly. I want you to look at these verbs that I call go verbs. They are called go verbs. We call them go because in the yo form, and only the yo form, they're going to end in a go. Caer, yo caigo. Decir, yo digo. Hacer, yo hago. Oír, yo oigo. Poner, yo pongo. Salir, yo salgo. Tener, yo tengo. Traer, yo traigo. Venir, yo vengo. They all end in a go, but only the yo form. The next group is ZCO. ZCO en la forma de yo. ZCO en la forma de yo. ZCO en la forma de yo. So these verbs that are ZCO verbs all end in ER or IR, but in the yo form, they're going to be a ZCO. So conduzco, conozco, produzco, traduzco. This next group, verbs that end in GER or GIR. See? GER, GER, GER. When you have a verb that ends in GER or GIR, the letter G switches to a J. It converts to a J. And once again, that only happens in the yo form. So look at how recoger would work. Yo recojo, tú recoges, ella recoge, nosotros recogemos, vosotros recoges, ellos recogen. That G to J only happens en la forma de yo. This whole page is about irregular yo forms. Final group is UIR. The letter I is going to switch to a Y in these verbs, only in the yo form. So we have an I to a Y, and it becomes construyo, destruyo, influyo, incluyo. And down here at the bottom, you can see kind of how this chart works. Contribuyo. Oh, I think a second ago I said it's only the yo form. I lied. The yo happens, the Y happens in the boot. The Y happens in the boot. Over here, these are ones that only happen in the yo form. So take a minute, pause my video, make sure you have all of these notes copied down. Now, once you have all your notes copied, please scroll to the next page. And I want you to take a moment to look over, well, what are these go verbs? What are the CER verbs? What are the GER verbs? What are the UIR verbs? These are verbs you should know. If you've never seen them, it's time to just be a Spanish 3 honor student and learn them. It's the time. So take this moment right now, look over them, write them out, make flashcards if you need to, but don't ignore them. This is going to come back. You will need this stuff. Please pause the video and please learn your verbs. And don't forget to subscribe and like my video. Now we're going to put everything together. See this? Wow, sneak peek. Oops. Do not look at my answer key here. Do not look at the answer key until you have tried it on your own. I don't want you to just copy down my answers right now. I want you to try it. So stop the video right now. Stop, stop, stop. Pause. Try the practice. When you're done, come back to my video and check your answers. Here you go. Here are the answers. Número uno, hablamos. Número dos, pongo. Número tres, doy. Número cuatro, piensas. Número cinco, compiten. Número seis, piensas, puedes, and vas. Número siete, oigo, oyen. Número ocho, conozco. Número nueve, protegen. You might be thinking, wait, Doña, didn't you tell us that turns to a J? Only in the yo form. Número 10, influye. 11, veo. 12, contribuyen. 13, obedezco. 14, dan. 15, están. 16, traigo. 17, sé and sabes. 18, incluyen. 19, recuerdan. So that was a lot of grammar notes. I really hope that you got all these copied down. I hope that you understand them. And at this point, feel free to work on your playlist, anything that's in grammar. You should be good to go. And I will be back next time to clarify any questions. Adios.